What's going on, guys? This is Rob, and we are back with the Hulk. Yes, we are. I just woke up, by the way, so my voice is deeper than normal. So what this does is this picks up with Banner in the mind of a possessed Hulk, because as we covered in the last video, the Hulk is currently possessed by an elder demon, right? If you guys need to get caught up on the current run, we're only 2 videos in, you'll find a link to it at the end of the playlist. So one of the big changes that was made here is that instead of Bruce Banner's mind being in this kind of endless ether whenever the Hulk persona takes over, that he's actually in a kind of landscape, essentially. But once he gets there, he finds these kind of hyenas devouring this corpse, and then this corpse kind of like emerges, and then it appears as just like a giant demonic eye, right? So like Sauron from Lord of the Rings. But it talks about how basically Banner has no place in the garden, that it's here for the body of the Hulk. Now, one of the things to know is that in the last couple of videos that we did, a little bit of catch up here for those of you guys who have fallen behind, is that the Hulk just sort of found himself in this town, which is essentially being overrun or at least attacked pretty regularly by a being called Genny Deal, and that it is in effect just this kind of demonic force. We don't know a whole lot about it. We simply just know that for whatever reason, it essentially seeks to take control of people and then, you know, unleash all kinds of pandemonium and stuff. It feels more like a Ghost Rider villain than a Hulk villain, if I'm being honest with you guys, which is why the Ghost Rider appearing here just seems so perfect. But for the Hulk himself, he had been taken over at the end of the last video, right? He had literally become possessed. And in doing so, he's joining the forces of Genny Deal and running through and attacking all these different beings, all these different people that are out there. Now, one of the things that does happen is Charlie does try to speak reason. Again, in the last video, we talked about how Charlie is basically this girl who's just been joining the Hulk on his bit of an escapade, so to speak, right? Like, they effectively found themselves as just kind of unwitting, really allies, and she just kind of been with him the whole time. And so Ghost Rider just reemerges. Now, this Ghost Rider is not the one that we're traditionally familiar with, which is also what we talked about, right? This guy is a dude by the name of Sal. But Sal did not seem to come back as a traditional Ghost Rider. And we'll talk about why once we get to the end of this, because it solidifies him as being different from really like Robbie Reyes or Johnny Blaze or Danny Ketch or any of those guys. Instead, he's just kind of here to protect what is basically his nephew, right? Like this little kid. At least we assume it's his nephew because the kid calls him like Uncle Sal. And so what happens, right? This really, really cool moment here. What happens is transitioning back to Bruce Banner in the mind of the Hulk, that suddenly the Hulk personality manifests inside of its own mind. And this is one of those things where context provides us the answer to the question that we're asking, that it's not Banner doing it himself, that literally Genny Deal, who's taken over the Hulk, says, "No escape, little locust. The brute may have been your vessel, but now he is mine." And the Hulk manifests in simply saying, "Stupid, not Banner's place, not your place, my place. Get out," right? So one of the cool things is that you've also got Banner, who's literally kind of held safe by this, you know, by this Hulk manifestation in his own ribcage, right? Banner just kind of looks powerless. He has no real clue what's going on. But it is interesting because this is one of those stories or one of those moments that could go either way. Potentially, Banner manifested the Hulk personality, which is kind of his way to protect himself in this kind of ethereal realm whenever he's not actually the Incredible Hulk in the real world. Or it is the Hulk taking himself over. I want to know, which one do you guys think it is? Do you think Banner did it or Hulk did it? I'm kind of curious where your all's thought process is. But at the exact same moment that Genny Deal is forced out, Hulk comes back to his senses in the real world and incapacitates Genny Deal's forces. But also, working alongside the Ghost Rider, right, Genny Deal manifests and says, "Fractured son, Ghost Rider, long and long has it been. No matter, I was there when the first living man entered my garden. I will see the last of you dead, each at the other's hands." So this is where things get kind of murky here, because with the Incredible Hulk no longer being a War Devil Hulk, right, and just kind of being an Incredible Hulk, as short-lived as it may have been, the nature of Genny Deal is still very, very ambiguous. Now, Philip Kennedy Johnson, when he initially created this character, created it to be a representation of PTSD, right? Like this just kind of trauma that passes, quote unquote, from one person to the next who's endured war or different things along those lines, which is why those individuals who were so easily possessed are those who have endured such harsh and terrible traumas over the course of their lives. Because PTSD is not just limited to a person who's like been to war and come back. PTSD can manifest really in the aftermath of any kind of harrowing situation. And the Hulk's life is nothing but a series of harrowing situations, if we're being honest with ourselves, right? Ghost Rider's a little bit different here, and that's where things are kind of intriguing. But as far as the actual character and the concept of Genny Deal, the fact that it's saying things like, I was there when the first living man entered my garden. One, either it's as old as mankind, or two, if it created any kind of a meaningful garden, it predates mankind. And so this is potentially an instance where Philip Kennedy Johnson is creating and revealing a new elder god that we didn't know about before. Now, not all elder gods are equal in terms of their power. And in fact, most aren't really as powerful as you would think they are, at least not in comparison to elder gods like Chthon or Sidorak or any of the other members of the Octessence, right, and so on and so forth, right? They're powerful in their own right, but they're not like godly powerful, right? Not nowhere near as the other guys. But the fact remains here, right? This is probably going to be something that will unfold over time, because literally what ends up happening is that these guys, in one of the coolest moments ever, Ghost Rider says like, I ain't been a living man in a good while, and just like breaks out his flaming chains. So seemingly this guy has all the same abilities as the traditional Ghost Riders that we know of, specifically Johnny Blaze and Danny Ketch. Really, Danny Ketch is the Ghost Rider you think of when you think of the guy with the flaming chain. Johnny Blaze got it later, but Danny Ketch was really the one that made it cool. But the thing here is that with the Hulk and Ghost Rider working together, Ghost Rider is just firing off these hell bullets, right? Every chance he gets to try to shoot this thing. The Hulk is just like, Rider, give me your chains. Rider like spins the chains, throws them to the Hulk. The Hulk kind of comments about how strong they are, that these chains are pretty strong, which makes sense, right? I mean, it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense if the main weapon of the Ghost Rider outside of the penance stare amounted to having the strength of a toothpick. But literally the Hulk grabs the chain, leaps up into Genny Deal's mouth, punches a hole through the top of its head, and then they just start wrapping this thing up with chains. And I'll admit, man, it's pretty awesome to see the Ghost Rider and Hell Hulk teaming up together to destroy this thing. Like, it's pretty phenomenal. But Hulk ultimately ends up coming down because, of course, this thing just had the Hulk jump through its head. And it goes as far as to say, Eldest will have you, fractured son. Your flesh is the key and is hers by right. By Eldest's hands, the mother of horrors will return, and she will grant me my vengeance upon all mankind. And so again, another force at work here, right? One that is presiding over Genny Deal and another ambiguous entity, right? The Eldest, as far as I'm aware, is a title that's given to like this race out there that kind of went to war against the Shi'ar for a little bit, but just like another alien race. It's more of like a ceremonial title than an actual entity. I'm sure over time, right, Philip Kennedy Johnson will reveal all the answers to the questions that we have. But it is cool because following that, you have this bit of a discussion between Ghost Rider and Hulk, and this will set the stage for everything going forward in the Hulk comics, right? Hulk asks Ghost Rider the question, why not you? Aren't you one of the Eldests too? And the response of the Hulk is, I heard her call, sure, but I was a Ghost Rider. Disobedience is our whole thing. Besides, something else brought me back, something that needs that kid safe. That's all it cares about. It says that in the world where he dies, everything goes wrong. So I won't let him, not here. Now, here's why that matters. By and large, Ghost Riders like Danny Ketch and Johnny Blaze are really the result of Mephisto. Robbie Reyes is the result of an actual demon, but it's usually Mephisto that is responsible for the creation of Ghost Riders. And not even just those guys, right? But basically any Ghost Rider going back to the early days of the Ghost Rider's first existence, and even alternate reality Ghost Riders, right? Like a Cosmic Ghost Rider, right? Frank Castle becoming that character, that was because of Mephisto. So it's almost always attributed to Mephisto. There's never really been an instance outside of Robbie Reyes where we've seen some other entity out there create a Ghost Rider and imbue it with all the powers that a Ghost Rider has. But Mephisto's goals and ambitions are usually murky at best, right? I mean, he's a bad guy who does bad things, but sometimes he does good things or things that appear to be good in order to achieve a goal. In this instance, it could be one of those situations where this kid will be like the one thing that stops some guy from attaining some level of power that would not only allow that person to conquer the world, but also like conquer the entirety of the universe or wipe the whole universe out or any number of things, right? Mephisto's realm is part of the main Marvel universe. If the universe is destroyed, his realm goes with it. Now, whether that's the case or not, we don't know. Like, we literally have no idea. It could be that this is some entity that's not even tied into Mephisto, right? Like Philip Kennedy Johnson is introducing the idea that someone out there beyond any kind of Hell Lord created a Ghost Rider, which would be cool, right? But the other thing that the Ghost Rider says is your weak spot is the girl. And he says, you're a tough kill. If the Eldest does not get that yet, she soon will. She'll get to you through the girl. Keep her safe, Hulk. In the end, she'll be the one that matters, right? So it's kind of setting the stage for the fact that the Hulk is basically going to be the protector of Charlie, but something is going to happen. The Eldest will appear. And when that happens, who knows what's going to take place? I'm really, really curious. Is this the strongest Hulk story that I've ever read? No, and it's not the strongest Hulk run that I've seen, but I am excited to see where Philip Kennedy Johnson goes. He never disappoints. But with that being said, guys, we're going to bring this to an end. If you guys need to get caught up, make sure you click this link to the playlist, and I will catch you all later. Peace.